Welcome everyone to another Vedius VOD review of the LEC. We're here for week 4 between G2 and Schalke. If you're watching this, you're probably watching on YouTube, which means that you're not watching live. Do you know what happens if you watch live every Monday at 6 p.m. CET? You could be a part of the Twitch chat. The Twitch chat asks thought-provoking questions such as, where does the hole in the middle of a donut come from? And why is the color green spelled with 2 E's? You too could be involved with such high-level discussion if you come over every Monday, twitch.tv Vedius official, smash that follow button, and then you can come and join in on all the fun. All right, it's here, G2 versus Schalke. Let's get into it. We're going to make the double speed happen. We're going to be talking about the bans. We're going to be talking about the fun stuff. So if you didn't know, G2 lost this game. It was pretty funny. I mean, I thought it was pretty funny. We're going to be talking a lot about why and how it happened. And obviously, we're going to be starting with the draft. You can see the bans are coming through. So some of the things we need to take into consideration. The Xayah ban, kind of troll, in my opinion. But the reason why they're doing it is because the day before, they lost to Xayah Khan. Now, the thing about Xayah Khan is it's very good into... Aphelios. Ooh. So the logic behind banning the Xayah, at least in my head, is that they want to prioritize the Aphelios, which they assume they're going to get because Schalke's forced to ban Soraka and Syndra every game. Now, of course, Schalke could have banned away the Aphelios here, but you then have a choice if you're Schalke. You can give them the Aphelios and be like, hey, we know that they're going to pick Aphelios, so that's all fine. Or, I should move my camera. One second. Let me just move this out of the way. You know that they're going to pick Aphelios, which means that you can get the counter pick. So that's why they choose to ban away the LeBlanc, which is also a really strong blind. The Jarvan ban surprised me a little bit. I guess it's to try and take Lorix off of his comfort pick. We usually see him play this a lot, but he now has access to the Gragas because of the first pick of the Aphelios. And then the Misfortune ban, I also think is pretty weird. I don't know why they tunnel so many 80 carries. Perhaps they just wanted to take Inax out of his comfort zone and maybe even force him onto something like the Ezreal, which doesn't have the strongest laning phase. But yeah. So obviously they first pick the Aphelios, and then if I'm Schalke, I would respond by picking the Gragas. And then you can also pick your 80 carry here. So they go for Ezreal. For those unfamiliar, Ezreal has risen in priority in the current meta. He received some base stat changes where his base growth stat is like 2.5% now per level. And so you run lethal tempo on him. And he's like really strong. He also scales really well. He's good in a variety of different compositions. His laning phase is very safe, and so on and so forth. So of course now, if you're G2, they're going to go Lee Sin. Now I know that they go Lee Sin, but you also can predict in the draft. I may have even said it myself, because I'm pretty sure I was casting this game. But like, they consider Lee Sin to be really strong. They think that it's one of the strongest junglers in the current meta. It's up to you whether you want to agree with them or not, but that's what they're going to do. Now, they could have also locked in their support here if they wanted to. I think it's dangerous to blind pick your support because there are so many strong supports open, which means that mid or top is your option. And so if you want to blind pick top, like Ornn could be really good here. Aatrox is dangerous, but you could also consider Aatrox here. Yeah. What else could they blind pick here? I'm trying to think. They could also consider picking Zoe here if they wanted to. It's a little dangerous, but it would give them a pretty strong mid jungle 2v2. Okay, so they blind Nautilus. It's one of the safer bot lane picks. There are, of course, counters to it. I personally think Rakan is really good. So the blind Aatrox here is, at least from the perspective of EU pros, they consider Aatrox to be pretty safe. They can also then look to ban out some of the top laners if they wanted to. So the Aurelia ban is very targeted towards Wonder. It's something that he likes playing into this matchup. The Braum ban is because it's good. It's a really strong pairing with the Ezreal because of how safe it is and how easy it is to proc the passive because his Q applies on hit effects. The Gangplank ban is also like fine. Once this ban comes through, I'll talk to you about some of the options that they could have gone for. And I think the Thresh ban is also fine. The thing that bothers me is I think that Rakan was the obvious choice. I think... what? Is my stream okay? Saved? We're good? Put it at 360? Yeah, I don't know how to do that. Every time I try to stream. Every time. Alright. Chat, you still with me? You still with me? You still with me, chat? Are you here? Am I dead? Am I dead? I need some response from the chat. It's fine. No, it's okay. Okay, let's carry on. So I think they should have considered banning Rakan. The only reason why I think that they didn't is because they think that Nautilus is good into Rakan, which is like fine, but I think what Rakan offers is engage, which is what Schalke's lacking right now. And the biggest problem with that is because if you remove that, then they're kind of forced to going into something like Leona, or they're relying on the Gragas to act as the engage. But I think Rakan really makes up for that, which is why I think I would have put a higher priority on taking it away. The other thing that you have to consider is that both Fiora and Camille are open. So what I think G2 could have done here is they could have put Ornn mid. And I think they could have done Camille, one of these two top to counter this. And then Ornn mid is like super safe. It doesn't really lose to anything. It doesn't win anything, but it doesn't lose to anything. Which means that you'd have strong engage, you'd have scaling with Aphelios and Camille / Fiora, you'd have split push win condition. The only thing you'd have to be concerned about is atomization, because you don't really have enough AP damage because you locked in Lee Sin. So that's like their only downside. I'm pretty sure they end up going for Ryze here, which also is not the end of the world, but I don't think Ryze Lee Sin is the strongest 2v2 mid-jungle duo. Like, it's going to be pretty strong, but Cassio is also open. But I think that even if they just done Ryze Camille, and then they just, done Camille here. If they had just done this, then I think they would have been fine. They wouldn't have lost. Because you go to 40 minutes, and like that duo doesn't get killed. And you've got mixed enough damage profiles, you have more than enough wave clear. This obviously falls off later, but yeah. That's what I think would have been better. But for some reason they decide to go with Ornn, which like binds them into team fighting. And then I don't think this guy has great Ornn items. This guy's fine. This guy's fine. I mean, he'll eventually get Locket probably, because there's no reason not to. And then you get the Cassio here. So the thing about these comps is I think it's possible for G2 to play through bot lane, but it's hard because of how mobile these two are, right? So like trying to attack the bot lane is difficult. Maybe an option, but it's difficult. Ryze will have early push over Cassio because she just doesn't have the wave clear, which means that Ryze will be able to roam early on. This 2v2 is pretty strong, but only when Ryze hits 6, in my opinion. But even then, you're going to lose to this 2v2 because it's stronger. Cassio at 6 is a lot stronger than this is. So I think you lose the mid-jungle 2v2. I think your only real option is to... I mean, you can dive top as well. I mean, you have Ornn, you have Ryze, and you have Lee. But the responsibility falls on G2 to actually make the dive happen in the top side. They kind of have to. Well, not just top side, but they have to make dives happen. They need to utilize the fact that they have early prio here because they get outscaled here. The other problem that they're going to have is whenever you're thinking about an Ezreal, you've got to take into consideration how easy he is to kill. This isn't very good at killing Ezreal. This isn't very good at killing Ezreal. This isn't very good at killing Ezreal. Which means that Ezreal's scaling is much higher because of how much harder he is to kill. So he can just kite you for days. Like, his damage is really high. And, yeah, he's extremely mobile. So, like, this champ's scaling is much higher than it normally would be just because this comp can't actually threaten him. And that's why, again, I think, like, if they had gone to Camille here, Camille can threaten the backline, Camille can lock him down, and Camille beats this on side, beats this on side. Well, this one's a little bit closer, but you definitely beat the Aatrox on side, and you offer teamfight value in the sense that you can lock the Ez down and kill him. Instead they go on. Which doesn't really make sense in the context of their comp. Because now you're kind of playing this 1-4 setup where you get outscaled in a 1-4. So you lose team fights. Yeah. I think the on pick was pretty bad. I think it could have been better if they put it mid and then again they drafted Camille top or something, or they counterpick this. I mean, it's like a good response from Schalke to pick the Cassio here, but then they also didn't ban it. They focused on banning away bot lane champions. And like Rakan was always open. So yeah, I think this is a problem. So yeah, basically the TLDR is G2 have to dive early. Right? They have to. Why? Question mark. They Schalke, this team, outscale 5v5 is the basic thing. And they also like can match sides. Right? So if the game is even, Aatrox can hold the rise. Right? So the only way G2 win is if they get the rise ahead. And the only way they get the rise ahead is if they use this duo to roam to either bot or top. And if they don't do this, they lose. Could it be that they had decided to attack the bot lane but didn't consider the Ezreal pick? No, I think they 100% expected the Ezreal pick because they banned away Misfortune and Zaya, which meant that with them first picking Aphelios, Ezreal was the only thing they could have gone for. I think that if they had just gone Camille, or they'd put the Ornn mid lane and then took Camille top, they would have been fine. That's what I think. Oh, I put it behind my cam. Well, my stupid camera is always in the way, but you get the point. you get the point. You get the point. All right. Let's get into the game. All right. So again, setting expectations. G2 want to play through the bot side of the map. Well, I say play through the bot side of the map. The reason why it's easy to play through bot early is because this duo should have push. Ezreal can get push, but it depends on how good he is at landing his Qs in lane. But Nautilus just clears waves much faster than a Rakan does because he has so much AoE in his kit. Pardon me. And Aphelios will have the sniper rifle and the lifesteal, so his wave kill like isn't insane, but he also has really good range, like very early on. So both junglers start topside, which again suggests that Jankos is looking to path bot. However, for Gragas often does this into this into this. So like it's not too uncommon to see Gragas start on red side. But for Lee Sin, he's probably going to do a full topside clear and then path here and then look for a gank bot. So as we can see, like this guy's already got push early. Rakan can't overstep. They're forced to concede. You can also see push in the mid lane because Ryze has so much more wave clear compared to Cassio in the early game. The Aatrox will be able to bully him out, so he gets to play aggressive. But they should also have information that Yanko started on top side. So this is where we see a very early dive, right? So a couple things to take into consideration. Number one, both of these guys got level 2. Now, in an ideal world, when you set up this dive, you'd love them to be level 1. But they're not, right? And that's not, you can't guarantee that. It's just in an ideal world, okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing is that the minion wave here mitigates a lot of the skill shots that Jankos wants to land, Perks wants to land, Mickey wants to land, and Cats to a degree, right? So there are a bunch of things that get in the way of them landing their skill shots onto these champions. The other thing to take into consideration is teleport. So by G2 making this play, their best case scenario is they burn a couple of summoner spells and they get some teleports out from their opposition, right? But again, it's hard to threaten because these stupid minions are in the way, blocking a lot of their dive potential. This dive is extremely risky because you also, again, if you assume that Gragas is doing a full topside clear, he's also going to be pathing towards bot, which means that he's going to be around very soon. So let's have a watch and see what happens. So, first things first. I didn't mean to skip that far ahead. We should just slow this down. So the first thing to notice is Mickey's bone planing gets procced very early. That's not the end of the world, but he lands the stun to set up here. Again, these 3 minions are blocking any potential follow-up, right? So Jankos doesn't land Q, right? Mickey is currently taking tower aggro with his Aftershock, and then Perks lands E into W into Q, I believe, right? This was a good flash from Dreams to land Ignite onto Mickey, who holds his flash. He takes 2 tower shots. He thinks he's fine here, and there's no reason not to think he's fine, which is why Dreams plays this well. Because he thinks he can hold on to his Q and get out, but then both Inax and Dreams flash and E into the bot side of the tower as the TP comes through, and then they burst him. So that was well played by this duo. Very well played. Because Mickey doesn't have time to react. He thinks he's fine. If you look at his HP, I would think the same thing as him. 1, 2. If I'm him, I don't feel the need to flash right now. I know I can take 1 extra tower shot. But Dreams and Inax both have the same idea of hitting him, and then that 1 extra tower shot ends up becoming lethal. And then, of course, Abadage TP's in, and then Perks loses his flash. Now, this isn't the end of the world, because, again, you still kind of got what you wanted. You got summoner spells out from Dreams, you got the TP out from Abadage, you lost a flash mid, and you lost Ignite, but, okay, fine. It's not the end of the world. It's not great, but it's not the end of the world. The other thing to notice is that this mid wave will start to slowly push towards Perks, and this will become a big deal in a second. And I'll point out why. So Lorix gets Crab, all happy as can be. Oh god, Caps, what the hell? And he's forced to use his flash because he overstays like a troll. I mean, he should have just backed off. He should have reset. He probably didn't have enough money to buy anything. But he also has TP, so I don't know why he wasted his flash. So you can see that mid wave slowly starting to push in. Jankos knows that the bot lane is looking to reset. So they can just steal this one away. Good steal, good pressure. So Perks gets a really good trade onto Abadage, really good. He's smashing him right now, right? So he lands E into W into Q, into E into Q, into E, and he just needs 1 more Q, which he can't land. Both skills get sidestepped, but he doesn't have flash. And the thing is, this is where things get really, really, really bad for Perks, because Perks is now going to lose all of this. So this is what will give him. What was he? He was level 4. I think he was level 4. Yeah, he would have gotten level 5 off the back of that. Or he would be very close to it anyway. So Inax not only gets a kill, but he denies a lot of farm from Perks. So at this point, you're like, well, this is sad now. If I'm Perks, I am livid. I'm like, my lane is over. Because he can't win anymore. Because now he's at a permanent experience disadvantage. Because Abadage already had a bit of an XP lead because he'd obviously caught and pushed. He would have been a little bit behind because you don't build up this big of a wave if you had caught all the way underneath the tower, which means that some of the farm would have been lost. But because he was still pushing the wave and Perks hadn't killed this yet, Abadage had a bit of an XP lead. But then Abadage gets more XP because he died and he got an assist. And all this farm, which is what, 3 waves, just dies. So now, Perks will permanently be behind Cassio, unless he can kill the Cassio. I mean, Jankos, this is great for him. He might even get 5 off of this. But Perks is pretty sad. And now, the biggest thing, and the funniest thing of this all, usually this duo can actually get Prio in this 2v2 matchup, right? I mean, we saw it at very early levels. But now Inax already has Sheen. And when Ezreal gets Sheen, that's when the matchup changes in most instances. Because his poke and trading power becomes so much stronger. So much stronger. So now they're forced to play much more defensively. Jankos continuing to hovering around bot side. I mean, there's no reason for him to play through top because it's on. So there's no advantages to be gained there. And then it gets him... Oh my word. So the problem here is Perks is playing towards the top side because he doesn't... he's playing towards his control ward, which is the safer side to play towards. Jankos obviously doesn't have kick, so he uses his W. And initially that looks like decent damage. But Cassio's level 5 and has tier. So plur, plur, plur. Almost gets that kill. Crazy. Oh, and then Mickey's dead? No. God. And so everything's just kind of falling apart now. Because the thing is, you can't sit there and say G2 is playing badly. Well, I mean, you can. That is a choice. You could say that. But Schalke is just responding very well. We already talked about how G2 has to tower dive. I don't think they needed to tower dive that early, but they needed to be playing towards their side lanes to try and put the side lanes behind. And in an ideal world, you want to be getting Perks ahead through attacking the side lanes, and that's kind of the logic. You funnel gold into him by getting kills on side, and then you also put Inax and Odoamne behind as a result. And as long as you're getting kills and staying ahead, then you can continue to trade against the Cassio. But now he's a permanent level behind. They got really lucky though. Jankos didn't die there. They got really, really lucky. But yeah, it's just Schalke playing really well. Abadage did a good job in turning that trade around. If he was 6, he would have killed him 100%. I'm impressed that Lurix is still behind. I feel like all he's done is farm this game. But hey ho. I suppose he did lose his blue buff. And now he's going to lose his red. Yes, he is. Well, that's a yikes. At least in OP, I guess. So Wonder's now level 7. He has Ignite, which means that top lane is a good lane to try and attack. Yep. And you know that Schalke, because they get Prio over mid, they can actually look to do Infernal. Yeah. Oh, Jankos is 6, Lurix is 4. What the hell happened? Let's kind of watch what... I'm just going to backtrack and see what Lurix did during all this action. So he takes... Oh, that's why he's behind. Okay, of course. I forgot that Jankos got all this farm. That's what... This is why. It's not Lurix's fault. It's because Perks died. That's why. I remember now. So Jankos knows that Schalke's bot side, so he trades for Herald because he can't really contest Inferno right now. So TP is now coming back up for Abadage. Same for Perks. Which means, again, if you're trying to attack the side lane, you've got to respect the potential of a TP. Yanko's still investing his time into mid lane, and now they look for the dive top. They have a wave stacking. Schalke know that the dive is coming. They used a realm warp. And then this was really well played by Odoamne. And again, the TP. I mean, we just said the TP could come up. Odoamne also said in an interview that he was willing to gamble this because he knew that his mid laner had TP. And of course, the caster has a level advantage. Remember that. And Odoamne, he plays this really well. So let's slow this down a little bit. So first thing he does is he fears the minions to move them out of tower range. But that doesn't matter because Wonder's already drawn tower aggro. So he then moves out. Perks then gets tower aggro because Wonder's left tower. So he then gets shot. And then they're all forced to disengage because the right person isn't tanking the tower. And I don't know how many times I've seen this from G2 where someone is supposed to tank and then Perks gets tower aggro. But it happens a lot. But either way, he probably would have been forced to flash out anyway because Abadage had just TP'd in. And at this point, the game is basically over. Or it should be anyway. Because G2's comp needed to try and get the Rise ahead in order to play through side lanes later on into the game. And they needed to do that by trying to attack the side lanes in the early laning phase. So they needed to attack top and bot. They've now attempted 2 dives, both of which have failed. And like you have to give props to Odoamne with how he played this. But of course, this wouldn't have been possible if Abadage didn't have TP. But it's one of those things where you could look at it from either perspective. G2 is screwing up their execution, and I think like that's definitely part of it. But also, I think Odoamne is playing well because he knows that he has the TP coming, so he does as much damage as possible to keep them around. And of course, he is forced to flash because Jankos is very close to killing him. But yeah, and Wonder tanks 1 shot, and then his other 2 teammates get blown up by the tower. It's the tower that lost this thing for G2. Yeah, and now it's doomed. Pardon me. So now we kind of have to figure out how G2 kept the game going for so long. What did Schalke do right or wrong? Because at this point, the game is basically over. In my opinion, anyway. Or at least it's very close to it. Because G2 are just running out of options to win this game. Yeah, they've got to use their Herald top as quickly as possible. It's smart of G2 to swap sides here. Because I think it's the best thing they can do to try and open up the map more. Get more gold into Caps' back pocket. Equalize the gold, and then Ornn actually holds onto the tower. Yeah, this was a really good response from G2. Really good. Like, considering the circumstances that they just found themselves in. I mean, I was saying that the game's over, right? But then they go, okay, forget it. Screw bot lane. You can see that Aphelios starts walking, and then he's like, someone makes the call here. I'm not sure who it is, but someone makes the call saying, like, hey, we can go top. Let's just push top. We'll go with Herald top, and we'll win this push. We'll win this race. I like the Ez ult. I think it's good because it clears out the minion wave, but he should have considered it using on his own bot minion wave to help push. But they give all this gold to Caps, and you can see like he now gets much stronger because G2 is thinking Caps is probably our best win condition. And Perk's going for the full scaling build with both Rod of Ages and Tia. I mean, it's also a very common itemization on the Rise because, you know, mana and health and all that jazz. And then another good pick here from G2. But you can see that Schalke's not really doing a lot. They're just responding to everything that G2 is doing right now. And when you think about proactive versus, you know, sometimes we talk about how Origin is not a proactive team. This is a really good example of a team being proactive on the map. Like, even though G2 is down 0-3, they're behind in gold, they read the state of the map and they're like, okay, what can we do? And now they've gotten the gold back. And they're stealing red. And because they have vision over top side, Abadage doesn't see this coming. He thinks he's safe because Rakan is there and Gragas is nearby. Okay, actually, no, this is a bit of it. This is an overstep from Abadage. His support is basing. And he doesn't... I don't know if he thinks that he hasn't got a plate or whatever, but, like, this is greedy. He should have backed off here. 100% should have backed off. He didn't have to die. Yeah, that was just Abadage trolling. Okay, so what happens next? Drake spawns in about 40 seconds. If I'm G2, I would probably be careful about trying to fight that. It's not that G2's weak, but Schalke... I think Schalke's comp is just better at team fighting. Actually, that's kind of debatable at this point in the game. I just think like Aphelios Ornn is just such a strong team fight duo, but I don't think Ryze does enough damage at this point in the game. So yeah, I think it's dangerous to go for a team fight now. But it doesn't matter because G2 get onto it first anyway. Let's have a look. So what do? They push out top, force Abadage top. They know that he doesn't have TP, so he can't come down. They push in mid, force these three to catch, and then they push in bot as well. So Schalke's just slower on the play here. Yeah, Schalke's too slow to react, and then they lose Drake. Okay, pretty good from G2. Ocean now. The broken Drake. So now they've moved Ryze off to a side lane, but they just have to keep the Cassio here because she can match. So this is also like really sad. So of course Lorox here is in a position where they're thinking about diving perks. So that's why Abadage is now hard shoving in top lane. But Lorox doesn't realize he's sitting on a brush. And you think at this point, okay, he's dead, but a really good stopwatch. Dreams also uses his ultimate to gain all the bonus movement speed and is like, vroom, CC. Now, his Lorox's ultimate does knock him out of the Ez ult, which probably would have just killed him. But he wanted to get him closer to the Cassio. So he still gets the kill. And it's actually Schalke that walk out on top. So they kind of get what they want anyway. Because G2 think that they're the ones setting the trap, but it's Schalke that actually traps them. So Schalke get their first tower of the game. And of course, because three people are top, Caps and Mickey can look to push in mid. Yeah. So again, good response from Schalke, honestly. But how does, like... Let's think about if Schalke could have done Herald here. See, I think Schalke should have just done Herald here. But they don't have mid-prio. It's like, this is part of the thing that makes... if we look at the number of people that's being invested in this play, it's 3, whereas Schalke are sending 4. But of course, because they're committing 4 to this play, Cap should just go straight back to mid lane. And like you can see how he single-handedly zones these players out. This then gives him prio over mid. So a large part of the reason why G2 are losing these skirmishes because they're obviously at a numbers disadvantage, but this also gives G2 the freedom to maintain control of the minion waves. So they keep push over mids, and then they get to move into river first. And then Schalke still need to reset, so they just concede the Rift Herald, which means that even though they lose Jankos, overall this is still a fine play for G2. Oh, now Jankos has started having to give up his jungle to someone else. Damn, what the hell? Look at that Aphelios damage. He lands Q and then shurikens. Now they're looking for a potential dive, but of course Romney isn't here. And no one is in trouble. Damn, Perk's just getting bullied out. He has no armor, which is hurting him. I forget if Black Cleaver just removes like a flat armor amount or if it's a percentage armor amount. Because if it's just a flat armor amount, the fact that Perks doesn't build any armor means that Aatrox does near true damage to him. Not quite, but he's going to do a lot. A lot of people saying percentage. Okay. 4% per stack. Okay. Do you know if it's total or if it's bonus? Because, again, I forget. So again, if we just look at the setup for this. So you can see they do a really good job of keeping pushing mid lane. Aphelios showing how obnoxious he is. The attack damage for 20 cleaves them armor penetration icon, reducing the armor icon by 4% for 6 seconds. So it just reduces their armor. Yeah, total armor. Okay, well, it's still good against Rise then. Because then it just rips through your base armor. G2 now play through 2 lanes. Wait, how did they push in top? When was this pushed? Okay. So Rise pushes in top, and then he TP's bot. Interesting. Good utilization of the TP, actually. Because you then have a stacking. Look, you can see they've now created 3 points of pressure. They have top stacking. They have mid pushing. And they have bot pushing as well. This makes it easy for G2 to then collapse when they head over. Because they can, look, they keep 3 people here to guarantee push mid, and then they move in through river. I think G2 do a great job of controlling their waves. Schalke's like constantly catching and responding. Abadagi does have TP, so he's fine. Good use of the W there from Wonder. And Perks is thinking, oh, I can bully him out. I'm fine. Nope, no he is not. So they will not take that tower. Now the Cassio is pushing in top. Caps is probably going to go answer. Yes? No? I mean, he has TP, which is the main reason why I thought he would do it, but looks like he wants to get to mid first. So Schalke used the window with which G2 is resetting to generate some pressure of their own. Abadagi now grouping with the team while they look to take top. Sorry, bot. Nice. Then, of course, G2 respond again. I mean, it's props to G2, in all honesty. They do a great job of trading on the map. This is also a really solid pick for them. So we need to backtrack a little bit. Because, so you've got to remember that the early game plan for G2 was basically get ahead, snowball, but not even like snowball. It's about getting Perks ahead of the Cassio so that he can stay in a side lane against her and generate more pressure, right? That's the goal. They failed 2 dives, which means that it was harder to do that, but they've been playing the map very well. They use their TPs in order to move across the map quickly, and they force Schalke to constantly catch waves without Schalke really being able to do much in order to actually get back onto the map. Here, though, they know that they have mid prio this time around, so they commit the Gragas towards bot side while Wonder overstays. He doesn't respect it, and he ends up dying. And this should have been a safe play for Schalke. This should have allowed them to threaten this bot tower, but because the Rift Herald exists, G2 are actually able to trade it in their favor. And then Abadagi gets hooked, and then he gets killed. And then G2 actually get another swing off. Yep. And then the TP comes through, and then they get another tower. Oh, God. So you can see, even though, but this just goes to show the gap between the two teams. G2 are very good at reading the state of the map. They basically just maximize this. They're like, boom, boom, boom. Okay, X is here, Y is here, Z is probably going to be over here, which means that we can actually attack Y. They're very good at reading the map state and then responding accordingly. But every time Schalke should be in a position to gain an advantage, they don't. And now they're going to lose Drake as well. Bear in mind, it was Schalke who found that pick initially in bot lane. Someone is going to lose his life, ends up being traded for 1 Drake. Perks is probably going to die here as well. Yes, he is. So Schalke keep getting kills, but they don't convert into anything because, again, Caps is pushing in mid. He can also push in top and steal away enemy jungle camps. So again, we'll just see the replay. Oh, and then the two-man Baron. Damn, what a champ. Holy moly. Oh, man. G2 is so obnoxious. Because it... Alright. quick lesson for you. Quick lesson for you. League of Legends is a numbers game, right? So there are 5 people. Regardless of the comp, more often than not, if you have 4 people and they have 3, you get priority. Okay? Basic rule of thumb, right? Now, there are, of course, exceptions to this rule. If you're playing a split pusher like Jax, I don't know. Jax can probably win a 1 versus 2 at a certain point in the game, right? Probably. Ryze is also a champ that can probably do this, right? At a certain point in the game. There are certain champions that do this, but for the time being, the rule of thumb that I want to instill in your head is that if you have more people, you get push. So what Schalke keep doing is they see one person top, and then they'll commit 2 or 3 people to this play, okay? Which means that he dies. That's fine. What G2 then do is, during his death, they are using their 2 and 1, or maybe 2 and 2, or 3 and 1, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, to then push elsewhere on the map, because they know they're guaranteed to have a numbers advantage, which forces Schalke to play defensively. So every time Schalke move in one place, G2 move in the other. It's a large part of what makes them a very good team, and recognizing that they can always do something on the map as long as they're in a position to answer. And it all just comes down to numbers. Oh, you've just sent 2 people bot lane. That means that you must only have 3 people at maximum between top and mid. Which means that all G2 need is 4 people to go here. Or they need 3 people, depending on how many, and so on and so forth. Because as long as you've got numbers, you can brute force your way pretty much anywhere you want in League of Legends. And that's what G2 are very good at. Now, don't get me wrong, Schalke, what they're doing very well is they're punishing the small mistakes that G2 are making. They punish the tower dive bot, they punish the tower dive dot, they punish the team fight that G2 tried to force here, they punish the fact that Ornn overextends. They're punishing all these little positioning mistakes that G2 is making repeatedly, which is increasing their kill score and doing them a lot of favors in the gold. But G2 is being obnoxious because every time Schalke invest in these plays, they're committing 2, 3, 4, sometimes even 5 people to the play, which means that G2 can do something elsewhere on the map. But it's basically all just a numbers game, and G2 appreciate that. So they take advantage of numbers to go where they want. But now you can see that Schalke's in a pretty good spot right now, because they have top pushed. They have Aatrox about to catch bot wave. He doesn't have teleport, which G2 probably know, but they've only got 1 teleport themselves. And meanwhile, they're grouping up as 4 in mid, right? Which gives them an opportunity to actually push and threaten this tower. So now it's Schalke's turn to apply some pressure on the map. Caps is going to arrive, and they don't feel confident enough to threaten that tower because Ornn is nearby. But you can see the top is generating a wave, Aatrox is generating a wave, and now Schalke should collapse on mid. And they should look to take the tower. Oh, of course, but Baron is being super obnoxious here. Here we go. Okay. I'm really fucking confused. What's Schalke doing here? Just take the tower. Yeah. This guy. Hit this. He'll die. You have lethal tempo being procced. Just kill it. This is what I don't understand. What chin hacks? Whoop. Dreams also uses his ulti. Huh. Not sure why they threatened to dive there. I mean, the only reason why I can think of is because they know that Ryze is top. And they probably know that his TP is on cooldown or isn't available. So they know that they have numbers advantage. But diving here feels very forced. I think they could have just taken the tower and walked off. That's what I think. Because now Ryze, remember, numbers, so Schalke have 5, G2 have 4, so the 5 gets to push. But 1 versus 0, 1 gets to go very, very quickly. So someone now has to go answer that, and they don't have any TPs. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what Schalke did there. So Perks gets a lot of free farm into himself. Meanwhile, Schalke's forced to go the long way around. So that was a pretty bad force from Schalke. G2 get a lot off the back of that. They get a lot of damage. And they also get a lot of resources funneled into Perks. He's now 2 levels. He's 2 levels ahead of Abadage. Because that single misplay from Schalke. Whew. But that's what it comes like. That's really good wave management. And then Perks forced to flash again. I really think it's because he has like 0 armor. Okay, but like, so what matters to me is that you can all appreciate why G2 makes this difficult for Schalke, and a lot of it just comes from how Schalke invest their resources. There are 5 people top lane. There are 5, and they're trying to kill 1. Now, of course, G2 don't know there's 5. G2 know that there's 3. So what all they have to do is look 2, 2, commit, commit. They're going to guarantee numbers. They know they have numbers advantage because, again, it's 1v3, right? Which means that all they have left is 2. So, okay, let's just say there's 1 here and there's 1 here. Well, 2, 2, v. Okay, there's 2 here and there's 0 here. G2 will win in one of these situations. And if they don't, right, like, let's just say another scenario is it's 2v2 here, right? So the 2 manages to hold this 2 back. All you then do is you rotate the 2 down to the 2 that's versus 0. So now you have 4. And then you get whatever the fuck you want. So you trade something for the life of Perks. But a lot of this is coming off the fact that Schalke, they're just investing too many resources into killing this. And don't get me wrong, killing this is, you know, worthwhile. For sure. But look at what it cost them. I don't think they'll get this tower. Yeah, I think it's because Aphelios doesn't move down. If Aphelios had moved down, they probably could have done it. So now Drake spawns in 40 seconds. G2's forced to reset, but they should actually be able to get back in time. But they also don't need to care about it because it's like it's 4th Drake of the game. But if Schalke get 2 Drakes, it's whatever. But this is how G2 keep the gold even. Because 3 people are killing Ryze. Even if Ryze is a shutdown gold, the amount of farm that's being lost to towers because G2 is pushing it in is like very high. Which is why G2 are keeping the gold very even. You're also getting a huge amount of experience across your entire team. The reason why Odoamne has got good levels though is because he just got that kill. So again, like, oh, good job, me. I'm the one that brought this up. It helps me also make my point. You can see the Cassio is bot. So what does G2 do? Oh, okay. 2 mid, 2 jungle, 1 top. 5 versus 4. Does this make sense? Because this is how G2 play the game. Like, they always play around numbers. G2 don't get the tower, but pretty damn close. This actually gives the opportunity for Cassio to keep pushing, which is pretty good for Schalke. She's now 15. She gets some of that solo XP that she's been desperately after. And G2's forced to defend now. In an ideal world for G2, they would have wanted the tower. So now I was also highlighting the vision that G2 have over top side. So Schalke can now respond and catch this. Perks now hits level 16. He's really strong, but he's still not as strong as Abadage. This Cassio will still kill him. Pardon me. What? Okay, so this is weird. Okay, So the question is, what is G2 playing around here? Because Drake doesn't spawn for another 3.5 minutes. There's nothing here. All they should care about is farm. For now. That's all they should care about. Like, Aphelios is pretty strong. He's strong. You know, they've got all these upgrades from Ornn. Like, G2 is, like, in a solid position. They just want to keep farming. They want to keep putting stuff on perks. So I don't really understand. Like, he's posturing for a recall to catch this top wave, which is what I think he should do. But then, like, he dances in and out here, and he's saying, like, we can kill Aatrox. But I really don't think he can. I mean, it's easy for us because we can see, but G2 should have information on people here. They shouldn't be able to see jungler. I'm not sure why they make this play. I mean, Yankus gets killed because he's trying to save his mid laner. The rest of them get caught and die, and then they lose Baron. I don't even know. I mean, this is the one time where I would say that... I don't know. I mean, you're seeing why, like, Ryze doesn't just massacre people on a side lane, right? He's not strong enough. And then Schalke is a 5, just engage and find kills. I don't know. That was weird. That made no sense to me. I mean, props to Schalke. Odo Omne was just like, whack. Cap's being fucking obnoxious again. G2 trade this Baron for 2 towers. What the fuck? I mean, they use their teleports extremely well. No one in the world thinks about the game like this. I don't think, anyway. Yeah, you've got to pay attention to the minimap when you're playing against G2 because of all the TPs. Oh, this flank. Oh, Inax. Oh, G2 got smashed. Alright, it's about time. They deserve this. So they greed. And I'll show you why they greed. So here, at this point, this boy just wants to base. After he takes the tower, he also wants to base. Because the empowered Baron recalls mean that they get back fast enough, and they don't respect the fact that, oh, this boy's got TP. And they also don't acknowledge the fact that there's so much vision right behind them. But the thing is, you've also got to remember that when you're playing against a team that's using their TPs creatively, that also incentivizes you to use your TPs creatively. And Cap's taking these wolves, really greedy, and then Perk's trying to take that extra wave and push this underneath the tower, also very greedy. Because the empowered recalls, if they didn't exist, or they weren't there, then G2 probably would have gotten away with this play, but they do. And just look at the damage from NX. Abadage then comes in as well. Big punish. Well played by Schalke. Very good. It's about time G2 got punished for it, if you ask me. Greedy. Because that's just a simple case of not respecting Baron timers, in my opinion. Of course, Odo still has to deal with the fact that all these waves are being a pain in the backside. And, oh no. So Odo Omne doesn't have TP, so this is their opportunity to force a fight, but it's 4v4. Lurox doesn't really do anything. I mean, he flash. I don't know. That's a little weird. Investing your flash for this play. All right. Well, G2 lose a lot. Puts downside. So the Morello kind of annoyed me because, not that I think it's necessarily a bad item, but I think that you want death cap as quickly as possible because it's extremely gold efficient. You've got to remember, right, that what we've been talking so much about in this game is the best way for G2 to win is for perks to be a threat in a side lane. And I think the way in which you do that is by dealing as much damage as possible. This does indeed mitigate the healing of the Aatrox, which is someone that he has to fight and play against. I acknowledge that, and I appreciate that. But I think he needs damage, and I don't think he has enough right now. Which means that if he got Death Cap, plus he upgraded it because of Orn, I think that would have given him enough damage to be able to match these people in a side lane. I think it would have made him really strong. But he doesn't. He doesn't even build it 4th, I don't think. I think he goes to either Void Staff or Zhonya's. And I don't think Void Staff is super helpful. I mean, like, it's always going to be useful, right? Because at this point in the game, there's a lot of magic resistance. Excuse me. Damn, what the Oh, I remember this bit. Alright, we can watch this bit in a second. So what happens here? Alright, so Schalke have used all their teleports, which is the important thing to remember. Lorox just gets caught. Okay, but a good stopwatch. But the bigger thing here is the fact that Arba is actually separated from his team. It looks like they're together, but they're not. They're really not. Dreams can dash to him and protect him, but then you leave these guys exposed. And they, Schalke think they're safe, because why would Jankos take this? And Miasma. There's also a 5 level difference. But then a really good Realm Warp. Ooh, I actually want to see who turns around here. And so Loris gets caught, which is fine. But that Q from Jankos, along with a really good Realm Warp. Oh, so only Mickey doesn't get ulted. Yeah, and Abadaga just gets blown up. Yeah, good knockup, but boom, 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 boom. Oh, so much damage from this Ezreal. Damn. I can't believe G2 found that fight. I mean, a lot of it just comes off the back that they need to wait for Aatrox to start pushing mid. Yeah, they need to wait. They need to wait. They tried too hard to keep Lorox alive when I think he was already alive at this point. And they should have just backed off. But this is basically a 4v5. Oh, the damage from Caps is... I mean, I say the damage from Caps. A lot of it's actually Rise damage. Yeah, a lot of that is Rise damage. It's kind of a culmination of things, really. But G2 aren't winning that because their comp is better at teamfighting. They're winning that because they're playing 5v4, and you can see how low they all are, even without Aatrox there. And then this is where G2... I thought it was really dangerous to G2 because they split up. And the moment you split up against this sort of comp, you get ran down. But Jankos plays this super well. The flash kick was really good, really insane. Lee Sin, what an OP champ. I can't believe anyone that wouldn't first pick it, honestly. XD. Yeah, and now the goal is even again. Oh my word. Yeah, Schalke's like... So, like, from watching this, all I can say is that this reminds me a lot of when SKT was playing G2. And, like, SKT was playing better than what G2 is doing. But G2 just won because they had, like, a better draft and they took better fights. Yeah. Like, I think it's really hard for G2 to win these late game fights because of their comp. Unless, obviously, you take them 5v4 like this. And it's important to remember that, like, it's never impossible, right? It's just hard, given that the comp that they have. In the same way that, like, one of the best ways to think about it is you could unlock a padlock with a toothpick. It's possible. It's just really hard. It'd be a lot easier if you just had the key, right? But that's not to say that the toothpick could never open the lock. It's just that it's a lot harder and requires a lot more effort. Which is kind of like how you have to think about these things when it comes to this point in the game, and you have like a comp that has better scaling in terms of the 5v5. Right now, G2 is trying to unlock the door by using a toothpick, which just goes, gives them a lot of credit. Like, I think they played this game very well. And I think Schalke do a good job of, like, responding and punishing. And I think, like, Odo Amne is very deserving of player of the game because, like, he just... See, he goes Void Staff, which I just don't think is like... I don't know how much magic resistance Odo Amne has at this point. But I just think Deathcat would have been so much more useful. Because, like, you can see that Morello's doing him... Like, look! Okay, right? Morello is applied. Does that Aatrox look like he gives a fuck? Does he? Morello, by the way. This is with healing reduction on. To be fair, though, when he's healing this much, even if he had death cap, I don't think it makes a huge amount of difference. Like, because Perks is just getting slaughtered. But I think that's crazy. Look at the healing, dude. Oh my god, that's just through Morello. Or like through Grievous Wounds. He heals 500. That's from his passive. Look. Q into passive. He gets 500 from his passive through Grievous Wounds. That's so much healing. Through Grievous Wounds. Yeah. Screw Grievous Wounds. It's useless. Just build damage. To be fair though, like I just wanna say, even if he built Death Cap here, I don't think he's winning this. I don't think he's gonna win this with a Death Cap either. No one. No, yeah. 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 Perks probably thinks that he can win that 1v1. Turns out that he doesn't. Oh, poor Mickey. Look. He wants to Q, but he can't because the creeps are in the way. If he could Q, he would have lived. Jankos has smite. Jankos, smite this. Look, if Jankos smites this, then Mickey lives. This greedy jungler. This greedy jungler. If he had smited this, Mickey would have lived. It's Mickey's fault. It's Jankos' fault. You could have saved him. You 100% could have saved him. Look at this. Look at this. He has so much time. Jankos, smite this. Smite this. God damn. Why can't he smite? He can smite. He could have smited that. You can't smite the little ones? Really? No. You really can't smite the little ones. I've been playing this game for 10 years. And you're telling me that you can't smite the little ones? Wow. Wow. Today I learned. Can you really not smite those? Wow. Broken. This game is bad. You can't smite the little ones. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. What a game. They changed it 2-3 years ago. Well, shows you how much of a jungle main I am. Alright, well, today I learned. Thank you, chat. Thank you, chat. That's also why we do these VOD reviews, to learn. It's very insightful. Thank you. Yeah, there's no way he's getting in there. No way. At least they get bot inhib. Alright, but again, let's look at what G2 do while the Baron is going on. Teleport from Caps into bot lane to help push to secure inhibitor. They also push in mid, knowing that the inhib has just died. So again, watch on. Look at on. Pushes in mid. This is the thing about G2. Like a lot of other teams would just be like posturing around here, and they'd be like watching. You know, like, oh, maybe I can help. Maybe I can do something. But no, Jankos is the only one that can steal. The rest of G2 is like, okay, let's just run as much interference as possible. And they're just trying to be obnoxious. They're just trying to be difficult. To make the game harder for Schalke to play, to stall out so they can find another opportunity. But then double TPs are committed, Wonder and Caps are in danger. Ooh, and then Perks. I think he could have stayed. Perks also TPs, I think. Yeah, he does. I think he ran was too early though. Yeah, I think he's a little too scared there, but it's fine. Oh yeah, and then I was like, I didn't know how they saw Jankos, but it's literally just because of this ward here that they knew he was there. Yeah, huge team fight win for Schalke. They play that really well. Really good punish. Bop. But then look at the Aphelios damage, man. Oh, it's so much. And then they face check Amadage. But again, they're just trying to run interference. Perks gets 2 inhibitors. They almost get 3. And then, ooh, Perks almost wins that. Yeah, because he sidestepped the poison. And then Odo Amne's like, what? Do you want to go again? Perks is like, no, sir. No, please, officer. PogChamp observers. Ooh. Oh no, Odo Omni ceiling is too much. I'm not actually sure why G2 is here. Okay, so let's watch. Wait, what? So do they want to try and collapse on the Aatrox? Or no, they're just getting vision, and then they don't expect Odo Omni to be there. And then Odo Omni just 2v1s. And then Inax gets a really good flank TP. And then they all die. So I think the logic here is... here's what I think the logic is. They push in mid, but they don't actually have push in top, which is where I think the error comes in. However, the idea is that you just move in through enemy jungle. They assume that the Aatrox is based. Do they have insight on where the Aatrox goes? Do they even see Aatrox? Do they see him? Do they see him? Do they see him? No, they don't. They have no idea that he's there. He hasn't shown at all on vision. So they just assume that, yeah. Actually, I think this is like, in hindsight, this is probably really dangerous for G2 because they don't have any information. They know where Cassio, Rakan, and Ez are. They see them. They see Gragas. Then they're probably thinking, like, even if we run into Aatrox, there's 2 of us. And my my AD carry has 4 items. God, why is... I swear Aatrox doesn't normally do this much damage, though, you know? Is this just Odo Omni Aatrox? Is he just the best Aatrox in Europe? Like, I swear this champ doesn't do this much damage. Again, Grievous Wounds, he just doesn't care. Is Grievous Wounds even working on this champ? Like, look! He doesn't take damage! Yeah, and then it's dead. Yeah, but the basic idea for G2 was to they move in, they get deep vision, they push out top, and then they try to play through top, and then they threaten this inhib, and they utilize the fact that there are 3 super minions to try and end the game. But they can use that pressure to wait for next Baron. But then they get caught through, like, Odo Omni is just smurfing. Odo Omni just solo kills Ryze in bot lane. Odo Omni finds a pick in 2v1 here. Odo Omni PogChamp. Odo Omni PogChamp. Okay, and now it's just about how they end. Because now G2 have lost those 2 inhibs, it's like, it's really difficult to win. Oh, I suppose the ocean. Oh, thinking about it, the 3 oceans probably didn't help. Having all of this in that fight up there probably made it a lot harder as well. Probably. Probably. Oh, look. Perks is top lane again. And he finally has Death Cap. See, now I want to watch him 1v on the Aatrox. I want to see what happens now. Does he win? Is that damage enough to help him win that 1v1 now? Or is it still doomed? Questions. I mean, what I will say is, based on the amount of healing you've seen from Odo Omne, it's understandable why you'd go Morello, because you want the Grievous Wounds, because you think it'll help. But apparently, Grievous Wounds just don't apply to Aatrox. Or his healing is so redonkulous that it's pointless anyway. Yep, and then... ooh, great damage from Caps. Insane damage from Caps. And now they're just trying to interrupt. Ah, but they can't. Oh, no. And then this is... oh, no. Yeah, and then this is where I think that they mess up. Yep. I think the ult comes in from... yeah, it was really good. It was a good TP from Odo. Odo smurfed this game. Odo, like, flat out smurfed this game. He's just keeping the jungler out. He loses, like, Caps does insane damage. Perks is just trying to backdoor, but all they have to do is... it's a shame Wonder didn't have Smite. I wonder if he, like, changed it. I wasn't keeping track of, like, what summoner spells he changed to and stuff. But it's a shame he didn't have Smite here for a potential steal. What's Wonder doing, actually? Oh, he's just trying to interrupt everyone's backs, but he can't interrupt Ezreal's. And then he tries to TP to help end the game, but yeah, they can't do it. Yeah, the only way G2 win at this point, I think, is by stealing that Baron. Which they just can't do. Which they just can't do. Odo, they're like... and then he thinks he can kill Caps, and then Caps is like, oh, you think you have lifesteal? By the way, look at my shield. Look at my shield. Look at my lifesteal. Yeah, and then they can't interrupt him. Mickey tries, as you can see, but he hooks a wall. A donk. Yep. And then it's game over. Holy moly. Odo Omne, what a smurf. So the thing about this game is it doesn't tell me that Schalke's like insane. I think that they had a good draft, and I think that they punished the mistakes of G2. But even then, I think that we identified how they kind of got run around the map. It was still G2 making their lives difficult. And again, like, that's not necessarily Schalke's fault, but they also had 3 teleports. Yeah, it was always G2's TPs that was making life difficult for them. And like, if it wasn't for Odo Omne finding those solo kills onto Ryze, G2 still may have been able to like win that game. And so, like, I don't think Schalke necessarily showed like an insane level of gameplay. Like, they're suddenly dramatically better. But I think that they played well enough to punish the mistakes of G2, and I think that they had a good comp that allowed them to win it. But I still, this is one of those games where I would say that I think that G2 was the better team that ended up losing. I feel like G2, of course, you can throw a lot of criticism towards them, towards their early dives, but in the same time, they drafted themselves into a corner, and then they were forced to try and make these kind of plays. Admittedly, I think that maybe they did them a little bit too early, and their execution was obviously poor, and there are things that you can definitely criticize G2 for. But I think overall, the way in which G2 played the game and the way in which they played the map was just much better than what Schalke did. But that doesn't mean that Schalke didn't deserve to win. Like, they had a good draft. They punished all the mistakes from G2. They played very solid. Odoamne, I think, was by far and away the best performing player on Schalke. And then, like, you know, when you have consistent damage dealers, like Inax's positioning was often pretty good. I would say he's a little too aggressive at times, but like, yeah, I would say that, yeah, I'm still like skeptical about Schalke. I wouldn't say that they're going to come into next week and suddenly be favorites just because they beat G2. I wouldn't anyway. To me, it feels like right now a lot of our top teams are underperforming, and a lot of the other teams in our league are capitalizing on those mistakes, which is heavily working out in their favor, obviously. But I think that we need to find a little bit more consistency in our top teams. Origin obviously had a great weekend, which is important to appreciate. That's why they're tied for first right now. And consistency is key during the regular season. So, anyway, that's it. I'm going to stop the recording now. Thank you for watching. If you did watch on YouTube, remember you can watch these live every Monday, 6 p.m. CET. Yeah, but again, if you are watching the VOD, thank you very much for watching. You can check out my other content on my YouTube channel. And I will see you next week. Take it easy.